Welcome to Nightique. I'm Edward St. Pé. Well, we're going to be very happy to have back on our show tonight Mr. Tony Pasko. You know, he lives in Meridian and he is the guitarist that writes the music, most of the songs you hear on Duck Dynasty, one of the most popular shows on cable network television. So meet Tony Pasko for his second performance on Nightique next.
Since 1849, Carter Jewelers has been a part of Jackson's rich history. Over 163 years later, we've not only survived, Carter Jewelers has flourished. From generation to generation, we've established a tradition of excellence. Our reputation is built on customer satisfaction, service, and trust. Every piece of jewelry is handpicked, so you know you're getting the best value.
Nobody says I do like we do at Carter Jewelers.
Come see us and be part of our history.
Attention! If you currently wear eyeglasses or contact lenses, stay tuned for an important message. Are you tired or frustrated with bothersome eyeglasses and contact lenses? If you answered yes, then LASIK might be just what you're looking for. And at the LASIK Vision Institute, our LASIK procedures now start at just $2.99 per eye. The LASIK Vision Institute's nationwide network of eye surgery centers offer the most comprehensive, reliable, and affordable vision improvement services available. With over 900,000 procedures performed since 1999, our independent surgeons are changing the way people just like you see the world. Call now to talk to a LASIK Vision Institute counselor and schedule a free evaluation. A $200 value, free. And for a limited time, LASIK procedures start at just $2.99 per eye. Plus, be sure to ask about our 0% interest finance programs.
Call 1-800-279-4907. 1-800-279-4907.
Ingalls Shipbuilding is hiring electricians, structural welders, machinists, ship fitters, pipe fitters, and pipe welders in our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Signing bonuses available for pipe welders only. Positions are union represented. Come build your career with Ingalls Shipbuilding. Go to www.huntingtoningalls.com/careers or call 888-935-1507.
Well, tonight on Nightique, Mr. Tony Pasko, who's from Chicago but has been in Meridian many years. Yes. And Tony is the person that you hear on Duck Dynasty. You hear the music, you hear some of those riffs going on. He's the guy that is doing it.
I'm one of the guys. I'm one of the guys. Yes, sir.
And so we're proud that you are on that program, because it's, you know, one of the biggest cable shows, network television shows on the air.
Yeah, it's been #1 for reality TV, and it broke a bunch of records when it first came out. So it's interesting being a part of that. I never would have thought.
So you've been a musician for many years, and you worked with the Peavy Company.
Yes.
And that's how you got to Mississippi in the first place.
Yes, yeah. Hartley brought me down. So.
But you, as a musician, did you ever equate your playing and your musicianship with television? Did you ever think that was going to be a big thing to blow up?
Well, no. And then when you start, you know, you never think, oh, I want to write for some hunting duck show, or my music's going to be that. You know what I mean? You don't think of it that. That comes many years later. Of course, playing. You know, when I saw Jimi Hendrix and play, I didn't know what it was. I was like, well, whatever that is, that's what I want to do. So that's how it starts. You know, and you just want to be a rock star.
You know, something that I thought of, you know, a while back was, you know, the cultural shift that has occurred in America through the years. So, like, you know, back in my parents' time, you know, there was nobody like Hendrix, you know, where all of the white kids suddenly said, look at the, you know, and the guitar god that was, you know, up on the stage was a black man.
Yeah.
Think about that, you know. And it's another thing that I've thought
awesome.
of. It's a cultural shift.
Awesome.
It occurred, well, you know, with somebody like Hendrix and also Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Think about that. You know, up until that point, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, Muhammad Ali was a cultural shift in America.
Still is.
And still is, you know.
Yeah.
And those are some of the things that happened, you know, within our lifetime.
And me growing up in Chicago, you know, thank God I had the parents that I had, that I didn't see them as, well, that's a black guy playing guitar. I was never told that. I was told that that's just a very talented musician, and you have to practice really hard to get to what he's doing. So for me, I just didn't see it. because I mean, you know, I'm kind of dark myself, so I was always kind of like, well, you know, I'm not blonde hair and blue eyed or anything. Like, you know, I'm closer to that guy to a lot of, you know, in a certain extent. But I just wanted to play like him, and these players that I grew up, you know, idolizing, you know, like again, growing up in Chicago, you could not be not a Buddy Guy fan, because he's right there. And it was funny, when I was in the Jimi Hendrix, my dad was a professional musician, and he used to always say, oh, Hendrix is just ripping off Buddy Guy. So if you really want to know where Hendrix got all that, you got to listen to Buddy Guy. And I'm thinking, well, that's the guy that lives here in Chicago where I live, you know. And I'm thinking, and I had access to him, so it was real to me. And when I used to teach and give guitar lessons, the first thing parents would always say to me, or the kids would always say, is, you know, I just want to play. I'm not very good. We have no musical talent. You know, they always start with excuses. And that's the hardest thing to get past, because you're already signing your own death warrant a lot of times as a musician by going into it going, well, I'm not going to be very good. And you can't. You can't have that mindset at all. You just have to want it, and it'll happen. And for me, since my dad was a musician and he was always in bands growing up, and we used to have band practice at my house, so I was always around instruments and drums and everything else. And so it was real. And it was something people did, and I had access to it. And then go see Buddy Guy, you know, just on the other side of Chicago. My dad would take me, and it was, I forget what it was like maybe the first Sunday of the month. They used to have an open mic at Legends in Chicago, and my dad used to take me, and I was this little kid. Of course, I couldn't get it on my own, so I'd go with him. And school was in session though when we sat there and we'd watch these musicians, and I had no idea who I was seeing on stage. You know, it was Coco Taylor and you know, Mavis Staples and you know, all these amazing, you know, musicians and singers, and Buddy Guy doing his thing. And I had no idea as a little kid this is who I was being exposed to. All I was told from my dad is that you need to pay attention. You know, look how he's playing. Look how the drummer and the bass player, listen to how he plays in the pocket. You hear his kick drum. You know what I mean? Look at how solid, and count it out. You know, and that was how I was taught about music. Not only just listening to it and just going, oh, it's a cool beat, I kind of like that, but going past it to figuring out why it's that way and how musicians interact. And I always thought there was an attraction to that for me, because my dad was a musician. He hung out with all musicians. We'd go hang out with musicians. So for me, it was like this little subculture that they had their own language. You know, they knew what each other was talking about. And it wasn't like, and I go to school and I would be, oh yeah, well it's this and it's in 4/4, and they'd be like, what are you talking? This kid is so weird, you know. And I just didn't fit in because they didn't understand the world I was coming from. So for me, it's because it was real. I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to be a musician, and this is just what I was going to do with my life. And you know, so for me, that's when I used to teach. That's what I used to tell kids. It's very real. I'm here. I'm doing it. You know what I mean? If you want to do this, you can do it. Anybody can play music. I mean, this is the one language that's truly universal throughout the world. Is everybody reads the same 12 notes on a page. So when you learn how to read music and you learn theory, you can go anywhere. You can go to the middle of China, and they will read the same C note that you read. And you guys can't, you know, I don't speak Chinese, he doesn't speak English, but we could jam together. And that's what I ended up learning over time about the gift that I was given, and this kind of, you know, maybe the secret key to the club that I earned. Because no one gives it to you. You have to earn it. You have to practice, and you have to do it on your own. And for like we were saying before, like off camera, I was saying that, you know, this is the first thing I think of when I wake up, and the last thing I think of before I go to bed. So, and you have to have that.
It's almost a spiritual thing, I think, right? Mm-hmm. As far as it goes beyond something that you can really speak about in tangible terms, as far as what an artist, you know, has, how the zone you got to get into in order to become great, I think, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, in culture, tends to send a message that's really not how it really is, so to speak. You know, the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the 60s and all this kind of thing. But when you get past those things, it has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with, for me, being a guitar player, it has to do with just, you know, a couple of pieces of wood and some wire strung up and you know, and it making sense. And to me, these things make sense. And without it, you know, I couldn't navigate through the world. This has opened doors for me to be able to do things in the world that I couldn't do otherwise.
So some of the other shows that you're doing music for, it started with Duck Dynasty.
Yeah, that was the first one. That was our big hit.
And so, okay, Duck Dynasty, good way to start.
Yeah, it was.
So tell us about some of the other shows that are using your music now.
And then it went to like Wahlburgers. We did Shark Week a couple of years in a row. We did the Voodoo Shark episode. Pipples and Parolees, which is right in New Orleans now. Night Watch, which is another new show on A&E, also based in New Orleans about first responders. And then Auction Hunters, and then Lockup on MSNBC I do now, and Hollywood Hillbillies, and Savage Family Diggers, and oh gosh, there's just, the list goes on. I don't remember all. I should write them down.
Do you consider yourself now an artist that works in the medium of theme tracks for television and such?
Yeah, well, I never thought I'd have a knack for it. You know, I actually have a little bit of a knack, and what I realize why I think I have a little bit of a knack. Growing up, and in my house, when you come over, there's guitars everywhere because it's just what I do. You know, in the bedroom, you know, and if I'm not, and I'm always sitting with a guitar, even here and now, you know, I'm very uncomfortable just sitting. You know, I got to have this in my hands, or at least close by, where I feel a little bit more comfortable, because I get kind of awkward without it. And
that is a pretty guitar.
Thank you. Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, and what's great about this particular guitar, this type of guitar, is called a parlor guitar, which is what Robert Johnson played. This is what he sold his soul to the devil to play. It's like this type of guitar, and I love it. It has a very distinct sound. This is a guitar you hear, you know, on some of the stuff I do with Duck Dynasty and a lot of other shows.
That's the guitar.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful sounding guitar, and it just has this rich, nice little mid-rangey sound. Easy to play, and you know, real easy, real fun. Kind of guitar.
I've heard that before somewhere.
Yeah, that's a Robert Johnson. Yeah, well, that's a Robert Johnson tune right there. Yeah, that's Red Hot.
But you
know.
So now you have a record that's just been released, right?
Yeah, on Tuesday I just came out. It's my third one, called From Out of Nowhere, and it's just a nice little EP, instrumental. It's 7 songs. I do couple acoustic tracks and some production tracks where I rock out, and you'll recognize the one track on it, which is now the theme for your show.
For Nightique, right?
Yeah.
So
called the Underfunk.
The Underfunk.
Yeah.
When we started, we had more of a jazzy thing, and then you wrote this one and let us use it as our open, and so now when we open, we rock them.
That's right. Well, that's what you wanted.
That's what I wanted.
And you asked me, and I went home and I was like, well, let me pull out some tracks, and I had this particular one that I knew was going to be on the record, and you know, I licensed out a lot of the music already that's on the record for other shows and videos and stuff like that. So when I sent it to you, I figured, well, let me just listen to it, you know, and I sent you a bunch, and that was the one you came back with, which I was personally thrilled, because I was like, well, that's going to be on the record, so it's coming out. And it's you know, these things now, unfortunately, the music industry has been hit hard the last few years, and it's hard to make a living as a musician. It always was, but you know, with the internet and everything, you know, kids don't buy music like how we used to buy music, and I think those things have to change regardless. It went on a little too long. The industry doesn't know how to bounce back right now. The kids and the technology are way ahead of the industry, and that's what's going on. That's kind of a problem. Me, I like it personally, because the old way of doing things found nothing but excuses on why they couldn't release any of my music. You know what I mean? It was very hard for me to have a career with the old machine, because I was too versatile. I didn't play enough of this. I wasn't playing what was in style, and there's always these little boxes they want to put you into. You know, I didn't look a certain way, or I looked too much one way, or you know what I mean? It was always something. and you're always trying to please these people because you want your music out there and you want to get heard, but you have these obstacles that you constantly have to jump through to get to that point.
So it's more empowering. The digital world has empowered the artist.
It put it right back onto the artist, personally, where I think it should be. Now, as an artist, it means we have to do the work, though. We got lazy. The big thing about that old machine was, we'll do everything for you. We'll create this huge amount of debt that you have to pay back eventually. We'll get you out there, but we're going to do everything. And they kind of kept you like infantile. If you look at some of these musicians that complain a lot about, well, I wish it was like how it was. They had everything done for them. You know, they didn't know where the money went. That's why you hear about these stories where, you know, they get off the road, they sold 10 million albums and they're broke. It's very easy to do, and because they keep you stupid in a way.
It's like the old studio system of film. You know?
Sure, yeah.
It's a system.
Yeah, they own you.
They own you.
You know, yeah, and they throw you crumbs while you're making them millions and millions of dollars. Now, there's still that still does happen. That still does go on, but they don't have the power they once had. You know, the internet and you know, I'm like Spotify and Pandora and iTunes and Amazon, where you can get any of my music. You can download anything, anywhere. I released it on my own.
So they search Tony Pasko?
Yeah, and it comes right up, and you can download my Christmas record. You can download this record.
And you've got a website too, right?
Yeah, TonyPasko.com.
TonyPasko.com.
Yeah, and it has the links to all the stuff from my website. But I control it all. It's all me. I don't need an agent. I don't need a manager. I mean, I've had offers for those types of things. But then once you start getting into the nitty-gritty of course, how everybody gets paid and percentages and stuff, and you find out, well, that's a lot of money I'm giving you. If I just got off my butt a little bit and was a little more assertive, you know, about my brand, which is me, I could do it myself. And that's what I found doing the thing with the TV. And I'm very blessed to have that outlet where, you know, I get music heard by millions of people every day. That's great. But that's why I got into it, though. You know what I mean? So just because it's on a TV show, to me, it's you know, it's a material to me, because to me it's about the work. You know, and even when they challenge me and they ask for some kind of stuff that I may not be into, maybe some fluffy type thing, that's not really my style. I'm not so much of an artist because I'm not, you know, when I was 21, forget it, I would have never done it. I was too much of a musician. You know what I mean? Now, you know, 20 some odd years later, you know, it's like, yeah, I could do that. That's not a problem. Right. You know what I mean?
Just, you can teach yourself how to do it.
Yeah, make the money and move on. Right. But because of that, and that's why I try to tell a lot of other musicians. I spoke at a school last week, and for fourth and fifth grade, and it was really interesting. I did a little clinic and I played a little bit, and the kids loved it. These kids had some excellent questions, though. It actually threw me off guard of the maturity of some of these questions that they had, and the main question was, you know, what if they ask you to play stuff that you don't want to play? And that I had to think about that a little bit, because, you know, you want to be an artist, you want to have integrity, you want to be all those things and have people respect you, and you want to make money, and you got to pay the bills, and you have to do all these things. But what I ended up finding and learning in the industry over the years is you have to put a little bit of yourself into it. You have to make it your own. And just sitting there, like so many of these guys, just sitting there and just, you know, strumming a chord, and like, you know, they always say like, well, I sold my soul, or I just did. You have to kind of take it a step further and take a little bit of pride and say, you know what, this is an industry, it's a job. They're asking me to provide a product. I may personally not think it's something that I can do. If I physically can do it, sometimes there's music, like just recently I was asked to do some music that I just had no idea how to play, and I had to learn how to do it. So at the end of the day, you know, you have to make up those kinds you have to make up your mind on what's the most comfortable for you, because you're the only one is gonna, you know, you have to, you know, kind of answer to yourself, so to speak.
So you're going to play a song for us when we come back from the break.
Sure, I can.
What
yes.
are you going to play?
I'll play the theme from The Godfather, which is the opening theme from my album.
From the new album?
Yes.
Okay, good.
From my
Back
album.
with Tony Pasko. Stay with us. This is Nightique.
I'm Dr. Quinn, and I believe in the power of exercise. Many patients ask me if they're going to get high blood pressure or diabetes because their parents had these conditions. I tell them that we cannot control our genetics, but we can control our diet and level of exercise. Practicing healthy decisions result in a better outcome. I'm Dr. Quinn, and I want you to remember that you have control.
Since 1849, Carter Jewelers has been a part of Jackson's rich history. Over 163 years later, we've not only survived, Carter Jewelers has flourished. From generation to generation, we've established a tradition of excellence. Our reputation is built on customer satisfaction, service, and trust. Every piece of jewelry is handpicked, so you know you're getting the best value.
Nobody says I do like we do at Carter Jewelers.
Come see us and be part of our history.
Bengal presents From One Legend to Another.
Good day. I must say I've deduced that Bengal roach spray is a superior product. It's kept all traces of those vile creatures from my home. Which lets me focus on more meaningful pursuits.
People trust Bengal Roach Spray's legendary performance. No odor, no mess, no roaches. Bengal Roach Spray really works.
With Bengal, I love having a little more me time.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Rice with Quinn Healthcare, and I believe in the power of exercise. Many patients ask me if they would develop high blood pressure or diabetes just because their parents did. I tell them that although we cannot change our genetics, we can control our diet and level of exercise. Simply making better choices can change your life. I'm Dr. Amanda Rice with Quinn Healthcare, and I want you to know that you are in control.
Ingalls Shipbuilding is hiring electricians, structural welders, machinists, ship fitters, pipe fitters, and pipe welders in our Pascagoula, Mississippi site. Signing bonuses available for pipe welders only. Positions are union represented. Come build your career with Ingalls Shipbuilding. Go to www.huntingtoningalls.com/careers or call 888-935-1507.
That was great, Tony.
Thank you so much.
And that song, the theme from The Godfather, is on your record.
Yeah, that's how it opens. That's what sets the mood for the whole record.
Now, is it because you're Italian? Is that why you use this, or you just love the song?
I love that song.
I love that song, too.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I mean, it's one of the classic songs of all time, I would say, you know.
And for what I do now with TV, it's
it's
kind of fitting now that I
Yeah.
do music for, and I've been in movies, and I have music that has been in an independent film.
And here's the
on
website.
TV.
If you would like to shop for Tony Pasko's music, TonyPasko.com, then it'll lead you to the various places out there.
Yeah, it's
to
got
buy.
links to everything.
Okay, good. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so
much.
much.
And come back again soon, okay?
Please, thank you.
Okay, Tony Pasko, thank you for being with us on this edition of Nightique. See you next time.